If not, it's okay. It's just okay.
Okay, done. It's starting. It started recording.
Okay.
Okay, no
Okay,
problem.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Raj. Okay, so we can do a search. So this will be the landing page for the programming centers. As I said, they can do a search because this service order can contain several details, right? So they can do a search based on the node or the IP address or the silly code or the shelf card port, then ONT serial numbers, customer telephone numbers. Sometimes a technician can also call in and tell he is at a customer location and this is the customer telephone number and there is some issue. Please help me out, like that. So those scenarios can also be handled from this home page. So what I will do is I'll just try to do a search for a particular node name. Sorry, this is invalid. So it will list me all. I did a pattern-based search, so it searches all the node names which start with this STS NMN. So I will go to the one which which will work actually. Okay, so this one. So here on the right hand side, it provides the complete inventory of the device which we have selected. It shows the shelves. If there are more than one shelves, it will show all the shelves in this table, and then it lists down all the cards over here. So right now it has only one card, and then it lists down all the ports in that particular card actually. So it's a 2-port, or I think it's an 8-port PON card. So now I can go into one of these PON cards and provide. So just to do a quick and easy fetch of details, basically what we do is we go and collect the real-time data from the network. So it will go and fetch all the details from the respective EMS or the NMS, or sometimes directly from the device also. So here we have an option so that the user can provide the ONT details and the ONT port number which they are interested in. Or if they want to see all of them, then they can click on show all ONT ports and that will fetch everything for them. Because the number of ONTs are huge, the fetch will be a little bit slow. So I just provided the ONT ID and the ONT port number from which we'll be basically try to retrieve these services. So it's going to the network now to fetch all the associated details. So we can see what services are provisioned, if there are any, and if you want to basically create a new service in case they don't exist, then we can do that. So this is the port information about that particular PON port which we selected. It has all those statistical details. And then I can go to the ONT page. So it basically highlights the port which we selected, 1999, right? So, and then it will show me all the Gigi ports and pot ports on that particular ONT. So it is right now empty. So there are no services created on this particular ONT. Any questions till now?
So far, so good.
Thank you. So now, since it's empty, I will try to provision a new service. So this will be like some are pre-populated, so you can see all these things are pre-populated. And for this particular customer, we support different the following three types of technologies, we call them, or basically the services. One is HSI, which is like data and voice. Then we have Prism, which is data, video, and voice. And we have GPON voice only. Basically, it will create only a voice service for that particular customer. So I will select one of them, HSI. Then it will request for some. So subscriber ID is nothing but the telephone number. So then I click on next. So okay, then I go to services. Then I select the ONT port. Then I select the bandwidth profile.
Hey,
So
your
here,
voice is really low.
okay. So can you hear me now?
Yes, better.
Okay. So here it will allow me to search the profiles. So in your case, it will be the GTP, right? So I can do a search here. Okay, then STM action will be tag action. Then I have to enter the S tag and C tag. Okay, and there is an option here in case you're creating a HSI service, so you want to disable the voice, you can do that. But I will create voice also here. It will be voice. Okay, so I've entered all the details because these are all part of the service order. So I did that. And in case I don't enter some of the information, right? So I remove this. I come here and try to apply. It will tell some mandatory parameters, fields are missing. So it's nothing but some of these information has to be entered by the user. Okay, so now I have all the details which are required to create this particular HSI service. So I now can click on apply. So it will just go and provision the service for me on that particular ONT on the specified ONT port. So you can see I created data on this particular GE1 and the POTS voice service on this POTS 1 card. So all of these are the data which we provided is provisioned based on that. And I can click on action if I want to see the detailed information. So I will get to see the same information which we provisioned. Any questions?
So far, so good.
Okay, thank you. So now I can do several operations. You can see on the right hand side along with add, I have delete, apply changes, port OS, port IS, and rip and rebuild. So I can disable this particular customer. We would have seen this action state. So it will come up, right? Service enabled no alarms. So that will get changed. So if I do a port OS, I'm disabling this particular service, this particular customer. So it will do a OS. Okay, right. So you can see this admin state also changed, but let's see what happens here. So it's disabled, the service state. Okay, now I can enable it. I can have to click on port IS. So the service will get enabled. Enable no alarms. Okay, and I can make any changes if required. So for example, if I want to change this guy's profile, GTP profile to a different straight, right? So I'm applying a different profile. All I have to do is select the different profile and click on apply changes. So it will go and update this particular subscriber. Okay, change profile has been updated. So you can see the data service being updated here. So I can do a rip and rebuild also in case I provisioned everything correctly, but still I have issues, right? I can do the rip and rebuild for that particular customer. Okay, so I will go and delete. If I want to do a delete, I can just click on this delete operation, and it will ask me if we need to delete the ONT also. So this has the ONT there in the lab, so I will not do delete ONT. I'll just leave it as it is and click yes. Okay, so now before I move on to the another use case or different vendor, what I'll do is I'll just walk you through the administration functionality. So where we have this centralized repos. Hello, Raj, you telling something?
No, what's going on? I didn't say anything. I don't know if anybody
No?
else
Okay.
did.
Okay, so I'll just show you the centralized repository. So it will act as one-stop shop for all the actions or the commands or operations done on the network. So you can see whatever we did here, right? So this is the device which we did worked on, and you can see my username here and the list of operations which I did, right? I logged in, did a search, then it fetches all the services, then it did an add, I did a port OS, port IS, change profile and delete service. So each one of them will have a detailed list of commands also. So I click on this action, so it will show me the list of commands one has executed to do the delete operation. So you can see the XML commands which went through to do this delete. So including the response also. For each command, I will record the responses as well. So this will help us to debug also in case somebody reports a problem telling that I provided all the right values and still the service didn't get provisioned correctly, then we can go and look into this particular XML or the CLIs or the whatever the interface which we use to talk to the devices, right? So it will show the exact CLI commands in case of GenBand, and in case of ZMS, we'll have the XML APIs, XML commands. And I can do a filter and all these operations are supported. So it will show me all the operations performed by me till date on this audit logs. Then I can do an export, whichever I want. I can do select a date based on a date range, and I can do export it into an XML, CSV file. So any questions? Okay, I'll take it as no questions. So I'll just move on to. Sorry, somebody said something. Okay, so I'll just take another vendor. So just to show you how the system is working, right? So the interface, the user interface will still remain the same, and how the fields or the parameters which are required for a different vendor still gets accommodated in the same user interface. so that from a user perspective, for him to learn and use the system will be like straightforward. Select the vendor. Let me do a search based on. So here, if I enter silly code, it expects a shelf card port here. So I will do that. And so here it will list the exact, because since I searched on a particular card, so it directly takes me to that card and it will tell me what type of card it is also. In case there is any inconsistency, right, it doesn't list the right card. So there is a refresh option here. You can click on it, click on it, and it will directly go to the device and fetch the real-time information.
Yeah, just to give some clarity. So I think one of the things here is that there's we will handle DSL and all the different DSL cards as well. So in the future, if we expand from, let's say, the GPON solution and incorporate some of the legacy stuff, you'll be able to use the same platform to do this. You can continue.
Yeah. Okay. So I click on action. So whatever I did last time, right? So now I will show you show all ONTs and ONT ports. This may be a little time consuming, but should happen in a reasonable time. So we'll wait. Okay, this complete version. So now I am in the ONT page. So I can search for a specific ONT on which I need to work on. So let me do it. So I do. So now it's trying to fetch all the ONT ports for this particular ONT ID which I provided here, selected here. So we did. So this ONT port also is empty. So I will click on add. So to create a new service. So here I will do a prism. So we'll create a video also here. So prism. Okay. So some of the values are pre-populated once they selected the ONT ID. So So here we use the VLAN 1025 for video. So that is the VLAN which has been assigned to IPTV. So I will leave it at 1025 because it's like default value. Then voice is true. GR303. So these are some values which are mandatory. So let me select all of them. successful. So I can see the
Hey, we can't hear you.
okay. So it's successfully created. Now I will go and show the audit logs for this guy. So rest of the operations are same like OS, IS, and other things. So I'll go to audit logs just to show like the set of commands here. Here we are using I think it will be CLI. Yes, yeah. Here it's CLI. So you can see the list of commands and the responses which we get when I do a request. So you can see all of them and what success and failure rate here. So in case there is any data error, right, it will automatically recover from that and try to make the remaining command successful, because there are some error scenarios which we know how to handle, and it will just try to work towards resolving those issues. So any questions? Ethel and Floyd?
Nothing for me.
Okay, so now I will walk you through the screens which we developed for your GTT scenarios based on the information which was shared by Ethel. So let me. Okay, so there are several steps in case of doing the provisioning for GTT, right? So one of them is to look into the ONT status, the light level, and the admin state, etc. So this will be a read-only page, and then we do data provisioning, where we'll create the data service by selecting the gem port and selecting the GTP profile. Okay, these are like pre-populated, so I don't have to select it because it should be data and this should be 997. And similarly, I create a Ethernet bridge similar to what you guys shared, and then I create a wireless bridge also. Okay, so this is one of the steps. Then we have the PPP OE authentication where I can do so. So this is like almost fixed. Then I have the CPE system. So this part was not very much clear, but however, we just created this particular page. Then the final step will be the voice provisioning. So it is similar to what we did for the data, but only thing is here the bridge template will be the profile GTP index, and the bridge template will be different. There are other values like VLAN ID also will be different. Then we'll create a CPE connection, then the VoIP subscriber. So only thing which we are not clear on is the telephone number and the username password, how this information will be generated and shared. So right now I am assuming that this order will have those details, and the users can enter that particular information to do the provisioning. So I can select different profiles also if I feel like this is not the right one, right? So I can select. So it's similar to what I showed earlier. So it helped me to do a search, and I can select a different profiles. So there's this in line with what similar to what you do using ZMS and GenBan. Of course, we will try to do the CLI in the backend with the information which we user enters. So we'll work out more with you to identify the missing pieces from the screens which we have here. Of course, we have to do the integration, right? So then we'll just build the right set of screens, so that any user like a DNS or the voice, once they are trained, they can do both data and voice from a centralized system, and they don't have to go through the CLI commands or anything. They don't have to memorize the commands. They can just use the user interface to do both the data and the voice.
All right. One question though concerning the voice provisioning. In our case, we would not want the user to input the password. Can your system auto-generate a password and use that password in the provisioning commands sent to the network element?
You want our system to auto generate the password?
That's correct.
Yeah, that can be done.
Okay. The next question I have though, it seems that your system is an interface where the user enters values. Would it be possible for you to read values coming from another system? For instance, if an order was generated in another system containing all of these parameters, could you now read the values from that system, self-populate? Okay.
Yeah, that is possible. So that is what we have this service order number for. So if you want to integrate with the ordering system like your Amdocs, if I enter the service order, I can go fetch all the details and pre-populate all the information from the order. Whatever is configured over there, it's like done by somebody, right? So once the assignment team is done with entering the values, I can pre-populate the data so that it can minimize the user data entry.
Okay, understood.
And in fact, and as a part of our proposal, we have automation also, where we can run all this as a batch in during off-peak hours. I can take all the orders, pending orders, and I can run it through NOCVue without any human intervention. So that it will do exactly what you asked for. It will fetch all the details from the orders and will start doing the provisioning.
Okay, understood.
And we also developed interface for the CSR team. So this basically is to do the serviceability check. So this is like development. It shows me this error message, this warning. So please ignore that. So if I want to do a serviceability check for any particular customer, right? So I don't have the address details with me, so I'll just try to. We just developed this based on the city here, and I will select the service, whether it's a GPON or XDSL. Then I can do the plan type and do a check. So it will try to identify the nearest splice point and try to figure out whether the service can be is feasible for this particular customer or not. And you can see all the associated details like the work order, the MSD, cabinets, splice points. GPON will be empty because it's a new customer, so we don't have all the required details related to the OLT and the ONT details, so it will be empty. So it says the service not feasible. Let me go another customer. So it'll now this guy we just put in some rules just to show that we can pictorially represent this details, so that the CSR team can visual look into this maps and figure out the distance are provided over here. Okay, so you can see the distance from the customer. This place point it shares 100 meters. So we'll be integrating with the S3 system, which the Crescent Link which is part of the Crescent Link, and we'll try to in real time identify all this information and provide the feedback instantaneously to the CSR team. And if you want to automate also you can do, and we have to put in rules, right? So if the customer is at this particular distance, we can do a pre-provisioning or not. That is also possible.
Okay.
Okay, and then I will show you if you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I will show you the app functionality, which we have for the NOCVue Unity app capabilities also. Shall I jump onto the app?
Oh, yes, please.
Okay. So I'll stop sharing here. Okay. So you're able to see my screen now, my phone screen.
Yeah, I can.
Okay. So now we have a provision to do a search based on the telephone number or based on the service order. So you can see the two buttons on the bottom. So telephone number is sometimes where you know the customer telephone number handy, you can do a search. Or if the technician is working based on the service order number, he has to enter the service order number. So I'll walk you through two scenarios. I will just, the service order number is basically the scenario which I'm going to show will be a new install where the customer doesn't have the ONT deployed at his location. So I will just try to enter some dummy number. Okay. So it will show me the customer details with all the addresses, etc. But he doesn't have an ONT. So there is an option to assign a ONT to this particular customer. So we just hard coded all these details just to save time during our demo. So the technician will enter all these ONT ID, serial number, registration number, etc. Whatever is needed for the provisioning, and do a submit. So what happens is the ONT will be added to this particular subscriber, and then he can call in the DNS team or the voice switching team, and all he has to do is click on this call agent. So it will call the toll-free number or the customer care number, and so then he can talk to the DNS team to do the provisioning for this particular customer. So once it is done, he will do the testing, and then he can move on to the next order. So which will take him back to this main screen. So if I want to service an existing, so
I have a question at this point. Can you go back?
Okay, I can go back. Yes.
One back.
Yeah, I will. Yeah.
Okay, can we see in here the geo reference of where the customer is located at? Is that possible?
Yeah, we can. I just put in there. If you see here, right? I don't know if I'm my finger. Okay, you can't see that, right? So I have pointed the address is there, right? So we can provide that actually geo reference, and if you want to take to a map, you can do that.
Okay, so that means that when we deliver the service and we close the order, we are able to put that information, to capture that information and store it?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
So I will, and suppose I have entered the incorrect details, right? Okay, I don't know how I can move this. In case I entered incorrect ONT details, I can still delete this ONT. Right now that functionality is not integrated or added. So I'll move to the next order. In case I'm looking into an existing customer, okay. So it will show me all these provisioning details of this particular subscriber. So he's an existing customer. You can see all the GPON details, ONT, the data provision for this guy, PPP, OE, CP, voice, etc. And now we can delete the ONT or completely delete the service. So in case we are disconnecting the service for this guy, right? So the technician can just directly do the delete from this mobile app instead of calling the provisioning centers. So I can click on this delete and it will just delete the service. Technician can take the ONT and come back. And in case there is any issue with the service, and the technician wants to rip and rebuild the service right from scratch, all he has to do is click on this rebuild. It'll rebuild the complete services for him without calling in to the DNS or the switching team. So the NOCVue will rebuild using the existing data, or we can go to the service order and also match it with the data in the service order and recreate the service for this particular customer.
All right.
So I think I have covered all the things which I wanted to show. If you guys want interested to see any XDSL scenarios, let me know. I can walk you through those scenarios using NOCVue. So Ethel and Floyd, I want to look into any XDSL copper related use cases. Or Darren, should we go through the questions which Ethel and Floyd have asked because we didn't cover them right during our last call?
Right, there were some that were from them, so we should probably go through those to make sure we get those cleared up.
Let me bring up the.
So Ethel and Floyd, can you visualize how much easier this might make your life, or it could get it more organized?
Oh, for sure. And this is to Darren. Darren, the idea that we had in mind, just confirm, is that this system would read the order from Converse, self-populate, and then automatically go to provision the network elements. Yes?
Yeah, the solution that we're looking for would include some automate. Would include some of the automation.
Okay, so I think that's a discussion for once we agree that this is the direction you guys want to go, we can have that discussion as to when do we deliver that.
That will be the end state, Floyd. But we are going to execute this in phases. So we'll be doing this first step as in the present in the proposal. We'll be doing the user interface, which will have the one which we showed, right? Of course, a little more customization will be done for your team, and people can use it to do all the new installs. Then they can also do all the repairs also in case somebody wants to disconnect a customer, somebody wants to upgrade a profile. All that can be done from the user interface, and the end state will be to do the automation. So yes, right. So still there are possibilities, scenarios where there will be fallouts, right? Because the network element is not reachable, or somebody has not provisioned a profile on that particular network element, or the profile is not synced with the network element. So those scenarios can arise, which requires human intervention. So during that time, those problems will be rectified by the backend team. And then you can you can trigger them via automation, or you can use human intervention to do it via the NOCVue Unity user interface.
Okay.
So these are the questions and our responses. So if anything specific, Ethel and Floyd, just let us know. I was told question one.
We're part of our questions, Those were part of our questions. They are pretty much summarizing what everybody has to ask about this. The only thing I didn't like is that you asked me more questions you gave me more questions than more answers. Jesus. that was really funny. When I said, what? I said, he's giving me more questions than answers.
So that is to get more clarity before we start.
Yeah,
the work,
I
right?
know, but I'm asking for answers and you're giving me more questions. So, okay, let's gonna do this. Let's gonna go over these questions. So, let's go. Number one. This full NMS slash EMS management solution, you say, yes, you have this, but it's not included. What is included right now in the proposal?
Okay, proposal includes the solution which I showed you. Basically, the unified provisioning interface where one can go look into the services. He can do provisioning. He can manage the provisioning, like delete, add, modify, update, etc., etc. All that can be done. And also the automation is also part of the proposal. You can do the automation by automatically reading the service orders from the Comverse and feeding it into NOCVue.
Okay, so if I have to classify what you are proposing right now to us, where I put that? NMS, EMS, none of them. What do I say?
No, it becomes a.
If I have to fit that in one of the options.
Oh no! It's like more towards going in the direction of OSS.
Okay.
It's an operation support system that's controlling the. It has a lot of obviously network interface, right? So it's a provisioning NMS or service delivery platform.
Okay, got it. Now you're answering my question. Thank you, sir.
So we'll jump on to the second one.
What will happen to existing NMS? Are you talking about the zone interface and GenBan interface?
Yeah, I mean, right now you have an existing NMS that is nothing to do with the GPON, but have to do with the DSL. But at the end, you cannot have two NMS just because we want. We need to integrate all of them. So my question is, do you know that we have an existing NMS that have right now DSL copper, pretty much copper solution that needs to be integrated at the end? It's not going to be part of this scope, part of this first.
It's not part of the scope, but I think eventually it will be, right? I think.
Correct.
Yeah. So that's we haven't defined that because I think that's not the most urgent thing. I think, from my understanding, the real need in the organization is to help deploy GPON and manage GPON, right? Make that life easier because you're adding new customers to like 1,000 or 1,500 per month.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, so wait, go back again to question 2. You had the question on. Okay, all right. So we have explained that we integrate with GPON, with the MDocs and the ESRI, right?
Yes. None of the example in the live demo that we saw already, you don't have any zone integration right now? Do you have any, or have you had any?
In integration with?
All that happens in the backend, Ethel. So I showed you 2 use cases. One is integrating with NMS, which is using XML. So I showed you one Calix E7 scenario, right? So we are talking to the CMS here, the Calix management system. And I showed you another scenario where we are directly talking to the device via CLI. So those are the 2 things. So it is integrated. So you don't see that in the UA, right? So everything happens in the backend. So we call them in our terminology, we call them as adapters, which will be hooked in to NOCVue Unity and talk to the respective NMSs or directly to the devices, depending on the usage on the feeding, right?
Or the application /OSS, right? So MDocs is also an OSS for billing. So we will talk directly to that and be able to pull orders or put information there. Same thing with ESRI.
Okay. Okay, let's keep going.
So the third one is integration with my account application included. I think we discussed this in the last call.
Okay. What did you say about that?
Yeah, okay. So what we were told is my account is like a portal for the customers who will use login and look into their account information. So it is something which will try to work integrate with Amdocs or some other systems, right? As far as I know, it should be talking to Amdocs to pull in all the billing related information. So I don't see a need right now. My account needs to work with NOCVue. If it is already integrated with Amdocs, it can directly talk to Amdocs and get the information. But if we are to show other details like what type of voice service is provisioned, what type of data service, etc., then integration is needed. But however, we have not accounted for that in our proposal because we were not aware of this particular portal or my account application when we did the proposal.
Understood. Okay.
And fourth one, will NOCVue provide all the API calls to GTT ATNI, right? Yes, NOCVue supports APIs, but we would like to know for what purpose you need them. And because if you're trying to develop or add, do some specific apps or applications on top of NOCVue,
No,
we
it's
can
just in case
support
it's
that.
needed. I assume that you have like a document saying those are my API calls, so you can integrate to me with this, right? It's like an open documentation when you have a provider, and all the big providers provide that to you when you acquire a solution. Cisco does, Sun does, everybody does, right? And my question is, will NOCVue do the same or not?
Okay. Yeah, we have APIs exposed. Yeah.
So you provide that documentation saying, yes, you are my customer, so whatever you want to integrate with me, those are my API calls?
We provide them only if there is a need. If somebody wants to integrate, because we have to provide support for that integration, right? So we have not accounted for that integration effort. But APIs, if you need, we can provide, because our app APIs are exposed. Similarly, NOCVue Unity APIs are exposed.
So I tell the answer is yes.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Just listen, you know.
So and going on to the fifth one.
Don't be like, I don't know, maybe a little bit skeptical or so. It's just that you say, okay, I have NOCVue with me. I have this solution. I have API calls that we know which one are those. If we have any minor need, meaning that we don't have to change anything in your system, is something that I need from it, I just want to have that and say, yes, we can do this.
No, definitely you can. So that's not a problem. But, you know, typically customers haven't asked us for that. They always ask us like, hey, we need this. Can you build this for me? Or actually.
Yes, yeah. Right. That can be a other option, but at least you are that open and flexible that you say, yes, if you want the API calls, I have it for you.
Yeah, not a problem.
You're going to be always my first option, right? Mm-hmm. But it's good to know that you are enough open, saying, no, I am very transparent.
Oh, yeah, no, look, you're paying for the system, so that's not a problem at all. You can do what you want with it. If you want to build applications on top and not share with us what you're building, that's fine too.
Okay, good.
So moving on to the fifth one, data migration plan. So I'm assuming you're referring to that 14,000 customers you have in the system, right? You want to read all that information and migrate it to NOCVue. Is that right? Ethel?
Sorry, what was that? What you say? Can you repeat that for me?
On the fifth one, data migration plan. So are
Oh,
you referring to the data that is the 14K customers you already have in
yeah.
place? We have to
Right.
discover the. Okay. Okay.
Right. What I'm saying is
Okay.
we have existing customers that we need to that we already have right now, and how we are going to handle that stuff. Those are right now over there. The plan include the immigration or so.
Okay. So we have a discovery process. So when you, if you can recollect the user interface which I showed, right? So we discover all the shelves, cards, and ports, and we also discover the services associated to those ports. In case of DSLs, in case of GPON, we discover the ONTs, and we discover all the services provisioned on the ONTs. So that we do it actually. So as a part of discovery process, all that 14,000 customers will be discovered and added to NOCVue.
And that discovery process is going to include also the facilities that they are connected at, meaning which OLT port, which node,
Yes,
which, and you're going to
yes,
see,
yes.
okay, remember the radio server, meaning Cisco part is the one that have the bandwidth. That is not included in the CNMS. I don't know. Scroll up a little bit. Just scroll up a little bit. A little. Okay. You know that when you say the proposal includes, no, scroll up. Just a little. Over there. When you say the proposal includes integration with the following systems, saying CNMS, Gemban, Amdocs, ESRI, we haven't seen anything that have to do with PAR, Cisco Prime Access Registrar. Meaning that is when you have is there where you have the profile of the bandwidth that you have in each one of the customers. So, with that being said, you have part of the information in the CNMS, but part of the information is in Gemban, and part of the information is in Cisco PAR. So PAR needs to be included too.
Okay. Can you share more details about the Cisco, because we were not aware of this particular subsystem?
I'm gonna send it to you through Darren. Okay?
Okay. Yeah, sure. Send it across. We'll look into it, and then if whatever is needed, we will try to accommodate.
Correct. Why? It's just because of the profile, right? It's where you say, hey, this is a 50 meg customer, this is a 20 meg, has access to the public BRF or node. It's when we define the stuff. So
Okay.
it's very important that you can be integrated with that. So going back to the question is, when you say you are discovering, you're going to discover what we have in each one of the platforms?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Related to all the devices, all the physical entities, and all the ONTs and the associated ONT services.
And the profile included in each one of them, right?
Yeah, including the
Okay.
profile. Yes.
Okay, no problem.
So sixth question, it talks about including repairs in phase one. That is to manage this 14K existing GPON customers. So yes, we will accommodate that in our schedule. So that should not be an issue.
Okay.
And seventh question, I think, is related to what we discussed some time back.
Yes.
Inventory of facilities and CPEs. Yes, I have listed down what all we discover. And I also showed you how NOCVue does a real-time fetch of these services also. In case your discovery was outdated, right? You can do a real-time fetch from the network to see if it is in sync.
Okay.
Okay, and moving on to the eighth one, see the annual maintenance plan. So I've listed down what all we will cover in the maintenance.
Okay.
And SLA is proposed by NOCVue. So based on our deployments, we have never come across any scenario where NOCVue has crashed or anything. So it is up and running all the time, other than any scheduled maintenance that needs to happen on the system. And since it's mostly used for provisioning, we do the maintenance during off-peak hours. So during late evenings or early morning times is when we do the scheduled maintenance, depending on the time zone factors.
Okay.
Okay, so 10th question, will NOCVue send field engineers to Guyana? At which stage, for how long? Yes, we will, because the initial phase is going to be very critical, where we have to understand all your methods and procedures. And of course, whatever we have documented in the proposal is based on the interactions we had so far and the documentation you have shared with us, right? So, however, we would like to validate that by talking to the lead like you, Floyd, and also the field techs, because we are going to design the app for them also, right? So all that have to be worked through, and then based on that, we will validate the proposal which we provided and see if it is in line with what our initial understanding was. And that is when we will have our engineers, subject matter experts coming in. And then similarly, after we come back and we develop and deliver the solution, we'll send in engineers to do the assist you during the acceptance testing. So they will do the installation and they will be present while your team does the testing, acceptance testing. And if any support and assistance is needed from them, they will help you out during that phase. So typically, it will not take more than 4 weeks. So we'll try to finish it within like 2 to 4 weeks is what we foresee each of these visits will take.
Okay.
Okay, and 11th one is the warranty. So that should be straightforward. And integration with repair, customer support scheduled for future.
Can we go back to the warranty? Do you think 30 days is enough for the magnitude of this? That was pretty shocking to me, you know. It's just asking, do you really think that 30 days from the acceptance is enough? From your experience?
Sorry, Ethel?
From your experience?
Yeah, typically, see, once the acceptance is done, right, what happens is the system is almost tested with all the use cases. And all you need to do is run through your team for a certain amount of time. It depends. And we have worked with customers like they have like 48,000 as the maximum devices we have, and managed 16 to 17 EMSs where we have integrated with. So there we normally after acceptance, it's almost like through. We have until and otherwise there are questions and concerns, clarifications which come in. Other than that, we have not seen any software issues happening on the solution.
Okay, so what you're trying to say, at least let me try to rephrase in my bad Spanish, is that we are going to solve for the problem before we get during the acceptance process. So there's no, in the warranty, we're not going to do practically anything, right?
Sorry,
The
Ethel,
acceptance process is going to be that good that the warranty doesn't have any importance, right?
No, look, if you, I'll work with Aaron and restructure that. Okay, when that needs to be 90 days or whatever, we'll make that happen, right?
Got you.
That's not a, I know it's just, it sounds scary, the 30 days warranty.
Very scary. You cannot imagine.
No, because
I was frightened.
Maintenance will begin, and so we're here to support you to make sure you're successful. Okay, so we're not gonna run away.
Okay, put a number that doesn't scare me like that.
All right, you tell me what doesn't scare you, then I'll put that number.
A year.
A year? Okay.
Okay. Oh, you asked me, I answered. No, it's okay. No worries.
All right.
Okay, continue.
Okay, on the 12th one, it's related to repairs and customer support. So far we have not discussed this part, like understood the customer support portal and the process which is followed, which tools are being used by your customer support team. Because during our initial call, the stress was more on adding new customers. So we didn't focus on repairs. But however, we considered that in the proposal based on our experience, how to do repairs, basically disabling, enabling, upgrading a profile, all those scenarios have been accounted for. But however, integrating with any customer portal, support portal is something which we have to work with you to see what needs to be done there, because we are not familiar with the tools and systems which you use as a part of your repair and customer support process.
Okay.
And 13 and above also belong to you, Ethel and Floyd, because I was told it's 1 to 12.
Yeah, you revised this already with Ian, Mr. Davis, and that team during last call, right?
Yeah. We went, I think we started from 13, I think, the other day. So we went through all this 13 and above with Ian and other team members, Ethel.
That's okay though. That's perfect because those were their questions, right? Floyd, do you have any questions that we haven't touched today?
None that I can think about. This looks good, actually.
Okay, coming from Floyd, that is a very good compliment because he doesn't say that to anybody.
Okay.
He's very, you know.
But does he always tell you the truth?
I'm not sure that I didn't say that. I'm just saying that he doesn't. No, I'm just teasing. So, okay, that's good. It was good to have this session, guys. Sorry that we missed the last one, but it was like a scheduled stuff.
No problem.
And thank you for having us today and answer the questions and the demo. I really like that one because I'm gonna tell you something. That is the first time I see something pretty much like what I am looking for.
Oh,
There's a couple of things that I can think about that additional, but that's gonna be fine because during the process you are gonna include a couple of things that you don't have there that maybe we want.
Yeah.
It's
minor.
Listen, I mean, we want to make it so that customers can call and if they have I don't know, does Guyana have good smartphones like Androids and iPhones with people on the wireless network?
Yeah.
So, we want to, like, one of the visions I have is build a app so the customer can just log in and know how far he is, when can he get his service, right? So if he's, let's say, we can work business rules with you guys to say, okay, if he's 500 meters, we need a week or we need 2 weeks. If it's 100 meters, we can do it like in 2 days. If he already has like, a wire to his house, then we should just be able to turn him up, right? And then send him an ONT and say, plug it in.
Awesome.
Right. So, and then basically once the customer plugs it in, it should automatically set up his billing and do all that. And, that's the end state. Now we may have a couple of middle states while we get there.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you, and we are pleased that you are very open and excited to do stuff different in here. We don't have to. It doesn't have to be that difficult how it is right now. So thank you for facilitating some stuff to us to make our job easier.
Yeah. And by the way, I'm already in touch with the AmDocs people, and they're very committed to supporting you guys. And I said, look, if we ever, you never know, we may get stuck in some understanding of their API or whatever. So they're willing.
Yep. Something important. We are in, I saw that you are working with Calyx and Atran. I saw a couple of those. So what is going to happen is that probably we have, because with certain part of the project, we are going to include more vendors. What is going to happen is that you're going to have more than one vendor for a solution going around, right? More than one vendor.
Uh-huh.
Mean that we have to think about them, right? When we are doing our development, thinking that today is Zone, but it's not just only Zone. You have to share with Calyx or Huawei, or we don't know.
Yeah, so those, I mean, we have, as we do more, as this gets more and more proliferated, we'll have more and more adapters to the vendors.
Okay.
Right.
The system is capable of handling multi-vendor and multi-technology. So adding vendors is not a big deal. Once we understand the workflow which they follow, like the GPON training PPT which you shared, right? So based on how you set up GPON for a different vendor, if we know that, I think adding workflows will be straightforward in our system.
Okay, good. I didn't see it. Maybe I didn't see it. I'm sorry to ask you if you already said that. What is the total time that this project is going to take from your perspective?
From our perspective. So I think we'll have the first phase will be probably in production, probably about 5 months.
Okay.
And then probably another, 6 to 7 months after that is like the current defined final state. Now, of course, we can always change the goalpost and say, this is what we want. So then the goalpost will change.
Okay.
Right, but basically, I talked to Darren. I said, look, if we can start this year, then by February or so, we can have them out of their Excel sheets.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So Ethel, please share that Cisco related documentation, so that will help us to